Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 125. I'm so excited about that. It's so crazy. Anyways, of Discourse in Magic, and
like
we are doing
5 quarters.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of magic.
Yeah,
and it's amazing actually, and that's sort of why we're doing this. But this is our Q&A episode. Now, I think we've done a few of them before, but this feels like it's the most successful ever because we got so many submissions that I don't know if we'll get through them all.
yeah.
And I don't know that that's happened before, so that's pretty cool.
Normally, we have to edit out a lot of. All right, guys. Anything you want to know?
Any other
but
submissions?
This time, I'm
There's
like,
no other submissions.
I hope that I read through enough of these that I didn't miss any.
I haven't read through a ton of them, so there may be a lot of
I was lying. I haven't read any of them yet.
Hemming and hawing, but we got a ton of submissions, so we're going to start going through the Q&A. And part of this is because I sort of want to re-groove up the newsletter. I'm going to be spending a lot more time talking directly to the audience, and I found that they're just, I post stuff on Instagram, I post stuff on Facebook, I post stuff on Twitter, and the place where things reach people the most is over the email. So I'm going to be sending more emails out there. And, just to compare, I posted this on Instagram and I posted it on the email that we were doing a Q&A. And the email brought 30 responses in and Instagram brought 3 in. And I love Instagram, and that everyone knows that that's a really cool place where we try to make cool content. But I think I'm going to be talking more over email and conversing more over email. So if you want your voice heard, go sign up for our newsletter. It's everywhere on the website. And then you'll be able to get your question asked in the next Q&A or whatever. You'll be able to just, send me an email. We'll answer.
Yeah. We're
fun,
here.
Right? I don't know. I just realized, look at the numbers. It's so ridiculous. Facebook, maybe I get 2 people that answer. Instagram, email, it's it's crazy.
Yeah.
So hop on the email because then we can actually talk. This is so cool, right?
Yeah, and it'll be a real back and forth dialogue. We are one of the few podcasts out there where we will respond to your question.
Yeah, exactly. So pretty cool. Okay, so here, let's start with the first question from Lachlan Brown. And he says, my question is, and by the way, I'm sorry if we pronounce any of your names wrong for the whole duration of the podcast, but he says, are you guys going to Magi Fest? And if so, would you like to meet up there? So I actually think I am.
I'm super not.
Yeah, I am going to Magi Fest. So absolutely.
I'm really, really sad that I'm not going, but I'm also super not going. But if you're there, I'm sure Jonah would love to chat.
Yeah, I will be there. I would love to jam. That would be super cool. So yeah, I'm going to be there, and then it's going to be my first Magi Fest ever. And then he sent a follow-up question, and he said, and if that is not a proper question, and I think that is a proper question, he said, what do you guys think
Also, this isn't Jeopardy, right?
This is not Jeopardy.
You can respond however you want.
Yeah. If that's not a proper question, what do you guys think about the state of Magic in 2018? Which is, I think, hilarious because he's asking us a question that is one of our questions, but I think that we haven't answered it maybe directly, right? So
I'm curious to see if he's actually doing that to be you ask this question all the time. What do you? Or alternatively, he's never made it to the end of an episode. He's crapped out halfway through.
Okay, so what's your thought? How do you feel about Magic in 2018?
I have a weird thought on it. I've sort of just changed how I feel about Magic in general. I'm very happy about Magic in 2018. I don't know the right way to phrase this because when I say I'm less passionate about it, it sounds like I don't care as much. And when I say I don't care as much, it sounds like I mean that. But what I really mean is I'm okay with it. I'm not. I used to be upset when I saw people using gimmicks. And then I used to be upset when people would judge people for not being purists. And now I'm just man, Magic's out there. It's good. It's what do you think of music in the 1930s? Some of it's good, some of it's bad. I'm just happy. It's in the mainstream a lot, and I love seeing it. There's the new Netflix special with Justin Willman. I loved watching that. Super engaging. That was super fresh. A really new take on Magic, and I'm very happy about what's happening with Magic. It's growing. People are doing it. People are challenging each other and coming up with new ideas and new avenues for it. I'm not hurt by the change at all, like I used to be like a couple of years ago.
So I totally feel similar. You really hit the nail on the head with a lot of what I feel, and a lot of the approach here is just a positive outlook on the change, because there's no going back, right? Like we're not going to unhave an internet, and we're not going to unhave TV, right?
Yeah.
So it's clever of us to, and we should continue to have live performances. And if you're a purist for live performances, that's absolutely fine. But I also think that, I don't know, you can't just turn your nose up to the TV magic. I guess you can. I don't know.
Look, you can do whatever you want. There are people who are 97 years old and they're still mad that people have cell phones, but like they're going to die in 5 years. So who cares? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just, you can be angry and upset, but you're going to stay angry and upset. We're not going backwards. It's never going to go backwards.
Look, like it's not an incorrect feeling. For example, I know that I don't make like videos like on, I don't know, I don't make like clip video things because I like people to see me performing, like you don't see a lot of videos of me doing tricks. Like I could upload a lot of videos of me doing tricks.
Yeah, there are lots of videos of you and I doing tricks for the camera, but they're totally for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't usually share that stuff a ton. Maybe I'll share it on story just for a fun little bit, but like, I don't know. I don't really do that. So I understand the feeling, but I don't know. I'm not upset that other people are doing it. And I also feel that in any industry, creativity is bred when a lot of people are doing it. So like, I have no problem with anything. I'm not turning my nose up to anyone. So basically I say I voice everything that you just said about the positive outlook. But my only negative thing, and that's apparent through like even just scrolling through these questions, and even the point of our podcast is like, literally the point of our podcast is needed now more than ever. Like so many people just have tricks and they find themselves, and me too, right? You find yourself just saying some random script that just ended up in your vocabulary for that trick. And you just end up doing this weird mumbled stuff, and you don't make great routines, and you know a lot of this stuff, but you don't really know how to do it or how to implement it. And you sit there and, and you'll hear in a lot of these questions, and, I also struggle with this same thing, but my big problem is no one's talking high level enough about what's going on here. And if Magic is getting more and more in the mainstream, like we're talking about, then things like Derek DelGaudio's show and things like, impactful experiences, Magic should be on the forefront of that. We should be, like what keeps happening, Joshua Jay's show, like Helder's shows, like what's happening is, and what's happening also all around New York and LA are these interactive experiences, and Magic is absolutely on the forefront of it. Like I keep hearing about things, and it's a magician putting together this. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, 100%. And there's one other thing I wanted to say before we move on, because we should probably get on to another question, seeing as we have so many.
There's so many.
The other thing that I really don't like about Magic in 2018 is the same problem I have with everything in 2018, and that's the shitty trolls that are going to exist in every community. Like there's people that are hiding behind their screens and shitting all over other acts and artists, and it's just, there's a lot of potential for negativity now where there wasn't as much before, but that's just a part of everything on the internet. If you were into cars, there's shitty car trolls and there's shitty banana bread trolls, and like it doesn't matter. So like, do I like that about Magic in 2018? No, but again, it's just part of what comes with the package of social media and Magic.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I think, anyways, just because I feel like I got off track, all I was trying to say before is people are struggling now more than ever with how to put together a routine, an act, how to put together a presentation, like how to actually be good at the important parts of magic, because all we've been learning for such a long time is just how to do this, how to do this, how to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm a part of it as well. You know, when I'm tasked to create something new, I'm like, what's new and impossible? And I'm like, what's new and impossible? It just makes no sense. Like I should be figuring out things should be making sense better presentationally than trying to find a random really good trick. And I know that people feel that way, you know. So I think the biggest problem is just presentationally. Okay, moving on. Do you have it in front of you?
Question from Richie Roy. What is the next trend in magic products you think is coming down the pike?
Oh, okay. Richie Roy. Oh, I know who that is. Okay. I believe Richie Roy is the one that just published the book that I read about getting booked in magic, which was very good. If that's Richie Roy. If that's not, then I'm false accrediting someone. But whatever. Okay. What is the next okay, so what do you think? What's the next trend in magic products?
I don't really know. I feel like there's going to be a lot more utility devices coming out. And I don't know if it's trend in magic products, but I think black art is making a very strong comeback right now.
Yeah, that's a very clever answer.
Like black
art, that's a very clever answer. That's going to be back very, very quickly.
Yeah, especially after all this stuff on the TVs, it's coming back. It's coming back.
Yes.
What about you? What do you think is coming?
So that is one that I actually didn't think of, and it's making me smile. But another one which I think is going. By the way, and then I have one that I just want to make fun of for a second. But I think that we're going to get a lot more electronic, mentalism electronic devices. And I think that that's going to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper in the mainstream of magic. So I think that's one thing, unless I'm misunderstanding how rights work, but I'm pretty sure that that's going to come. What you just said is good. And then here's the one that I want to make fun of a little bit. Like, and I do recognize that each trick like could potentially be a miracle done by the right person in the right context. But it just feels like now, over the last 2 days, I saw like there was a trick with a Rubik's Cube where you take a bite out of it. And then also there was a trick with a Rubik's Cube where it becomes Skittles. And I'm just like, how many, like, can we just stop inventing different things to do with Rubik's Cubes? Like, I don't know. All I'm thinking about is how much I need magic with things and objects, right? And less with like a pack of cards. And then I'm like, why is everyone spending all of their mental energy on making new Rubik's Cube products?
It's kind of weird how that happens, eh? It's like,
yeah, like why are you guys trying to take a bite out of a chocolate Rubik? I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding something, but like, do you understand what I'm saying?
No, for sure. Like the Rubik's Cube's a great prop, great item to use until everyone does it, you know? And it's not only the fact that everyone's doing it, it's the fact that everyone's innovating with it. Like if you just put all your mental effort that you put into taking a bite out of a chocolate Rubik's Cube and did it to a chocolate iPhone, you have a better magic trick because you can borrow a phone and bite it, right?
But it's so hard because, like, you know, these people have created amazing miracles with like a Rubik's Cube in a paper bag, but you cannot do it after the virality that is Stephen Brundage.
Exactly.
There's going to be like 5% of your audience who have literally seen it.
Exactly. And it's the fault of the magic creators who are like, oh, that worked really well. Let me do that too. That's not going to work as well.
But that's such a crazy 2018 problem that, like, if everyone buys a magic product, you actually can't do it for your show because it'll appear on America's Got Talent or something and get like 9 million views. And then like 3% have seen, you know, like, I mean, or like, it's crazy. And I'm hoping that the answer is that we need to innovate more, not because of exposure, because people know the secrets, but exposure because people are just like, oh, I've seen someone else who can also solve a Rubik's Cube very quickly.
It's also interesting that it becomes less magical, even though it's still impossible for them to do. They just know that it's possible, that you're not the only one. You know what
people
I mean?
can do magic. Yeah, it's super fun. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, yeah.
So the next question came out in 2 emails from Frankie Magic 13. So he said, what got you into magic and who is your favorite magician? Love your podcast, by the way. And then he said, which podcast is your favorite? So let's just answer the first one. Okay, what got you into magic? I think we've told this story many times. Just go to like the first episode or anyone.
Yeah. You can go first.
And who's your favorite magician?
I'm gonna say Jonah Babbins, because I can't pin it down to one. Like, it's an impossible question. It's an impossible question.
Okay, so I'll just say I got into magic. My uncle did D-Lights, and I thought it was dope. And then later on, I met Ben Train, and then that's everything. That's my whole story. And then my favorite magician, I have 2 answers. My first obvious answer is like I obviously can't pick. But my second answer is that it changes depending on what I'm struggling with in magic and who I'm looking up to, who is amazing at that thing. And I'll tell you.
Hang on. I agree with everything you just said in terms of favorite magicians for like, oh, I get to learn. Oh, this is a cool.
I just mean right now, like whose performance I'm enthralled by the most.
Yeah, exactly. So like it changes person to person, but the like time tested for me, I will never get bored of watching Jan Frisch perform. I don't know what it is, but
beautiful.
Well,
he's done something incredibly different, and it's fantastic, right? So that's amazing.
I'm not worried about being fooled. I'm not thinking about technique. That's one of the only times I get to actually just sit back and watch a magic show.
So. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So right now mine, and it might be because I just watched it live at the Magic Castle, but after seeing Rob Zabrecki live, that is the best. He is the best magician I've ever seen, ever. Oh my goodness. I have only a million best things to say. Oh my gosh. Right now, his performance just made me realize how everyone is worried about the wrong thing. And if you quadruple down on character, right? Like it's all based on character. Like they're there to be entertained by you as a character, no matter what the character is. But like that's what the answer is to all your questions. It's inside of character. It's just like, I'm going to be re-listening to his episode just to really soak that stuff up. So right now, as it stands at this moment, he's my favorite magician. But it's rotated. It's been Aussie Wind. It's been Garrett Thomas for a little while. It's been, it just rotates all the time. So
yeah, for sure.
Do you got the questions?
Yep. So the magical Mayank. I'm not 100% sure. Sorry about that. I would like you to answer one question. That is, how can I get to the next level being an advanced magician?
How can you get to the next level of being an advanced magician, Tyler?
You listen to this podcast every day.
That's right.
Tell your friends about it. Actually, send links of the episodes to 64 people every hour.
Exactly.
If they have an interest in magic. And then
print out. No.
Transcribe everything. No, There's no way. There's no way to get to the next level. You are where you are, and you're always moving forward. Like, what is an advanced magician to you? Where are you? I don't know who you are. Right?
Exactly. The question is, what's an advanced magician? If you're talking about being, I'll just give 2 quick answers. So, if you're talking about being better at magic itself, I don't know. See where your weakness is in performing. It's probably in somewhere in it's either not entertaining enough or not fooling enough. And if it's both of those, then you need to focus on putting the whole thing together as a show or as an act. If you're talking about making it to the next level as a magician, get photos, videos, and testimonials of you performing, get a website, put them up, and then try to put that website in front of the faces of the people who might hire you.
All right.
There you go. Okay. The next question here is from Tim Q, who says, this is actually a clever question. What are some good resources for storytelling magic? I have Walt Anthony's Tales of Enchantment, and it has piqued my interest in this style. So I don't know who Walt Anthony is or what Tales of Enchantment is, but I think that that's such a brilliant question because that's exactly right. We're trying to be storytellers. So my question to you is, Tim, I'm going to look up to see who this is, Walt Anthony. And if anybody else has resources about storytelling, pass that on. The only thing that I will say, which I have learned as well, is limit yourself to one or two resources maybe before you go ahead and start doing it. The whole point of this podcast is just to do the thing. So take resources, but I feel like I would rather record myself 30 times and get my best story and then hire a storytelling coach. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then read 20 books on storytelling. Obviously, that's not what this is about, but I'm just saying, like, find one good resource. So if somebody thinks they have one good resource about storytelling, let me know. I'm going to look into what Walt Anthony's book is. Tyler, do you have any good resources about storytelling?
If, like, for me personally, I don't know if this is going to help you, but I find it very helpful to not watch instructional things when I want to learn something all the time, but just watch the things. And in this case, listen to the things. So find story-based podcasts or things like that you can just play and have them be in your life. And you sort of become just familiar with them and subconsciously aware of specific details. And you can use, certain elements. Like, I love listening to Lore. That's a great podcast where it's just storytelling. And, it's sort of really, you learn about how to set the mood with your tone. And, really, they don't teach you actually how to storytell. You just listen to the stories and you pay attention to them, and you're going to pick stuff up that way. And that's worked for me with all sorts of things. You know what I mean? Like,
engage with the best storytellers, like the best storytellers.
If you want to be a good filmmaker, watch good movies,
Watch good movies, exactly.
Next question is from Dean Whitlock, and I'm a little bit frightened by it because I don't know quite how to answer it, so I'm going to toss it to you first. But the ease of access to magic on TV, YouTube, and Facebook has contributed both to the exponential growth of magic and to the obsolescence of traditional magic clubs like SAM and IBM. What steps do you think local clubs should take to not die out, to better include young magicians, and to help foster the continued growth of the community?
Amazing question.
Yeah.
Amazing question. Tyler, what do you have any thoughts off the bat or no?
Yeah, there's a few things. Exclusivity is dead. Don't try to make it hard for the people to be there. There was a time and place for, like, if you're young, you kind of had to fight your way into the club and, like, prove yourself. That's gone. Don't think that because you've been doing magic for longer that you're right. That's something I see a lot of, where young kids are showing someone and they say, no, you can't do it like that because you have to do it like this. And that's fine, but stop using words like can't. Just tell them why you do it the way you do it. The other thing is regular and local places to meet up. So central to whatever town or city you're in, make sure it's a regularly occurring event in a place that's easy for most people to get to. That's really about it. I think it just needs to be more inclusive and less.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say. I mean, I don't have such a, like, I don't know how exclusive things are. In my experience, magic clubs have been incredibly inclusive. They're all dying for more members. So I don't know how exclusive they are. Maybe once upon a time, but now, like, I don't know much about that. But here's what I will say. I'll say a few things. Number one, I don't know how relevant it is when a young magician can learn magic by just watching somebody on YouTube or buying a download for $3 or $7. I don't know how much it's worth it for them to be a member of a major magic organization like IBM.
Oh, yeah, free is another thing.
Here's what I say about that. Yeah, so there are magic meetings already happening, but those people are not part of the magic club. So my advices would be like, if dues are lower, there might be more people. That's number one. Number two is that the necessity of being a member of an IBM or an SAM and paying dues to something to be part of a magic organization. And by the way, I know that there's people who are part of those groups and they're amazing. And just to compare, like, I was a part of a fraternity for 4 years and I paid dues and it was amazing. And I have no problems with paying dues and for money going to the major organization and for that. Like, I have literally no problem with that structure. And if people do it, I enjoy it. But I think that it is in 2018 a potential bottleneck for the growth of a magic club. And the third thing that I would say is, because magic clubs are generally older in demographic, they're not doing a very good job online, on social media, and on anywhere, so that a young magician would even know that there is a magic club in that city, aside from like noticing a flyer at the local magic store or something along those lines. So those would be my approach. Is number one, you have to find a way to get in front of young people. And number two is, if cost is a barrier in terms of being a part of one of those organizations, then that's going to stop people from wanting to be involved. But other than that, I would say they should keep thriving, and they just need to start working even better with media and social media. And I think that we're going to find that the clubs that are doing that are the ones that are thriving, because maybe you can convince someone to pay dues if they can see very clearly, so regularly, all the amazing events that you're doing. And then they see that it's only X amount, and I have no idea what the X is, but they see that it's only X amount of dollars for a year, and it's totally worth it to do, right? So maybe the problem is just social media. It's not dues. Maybe things can function like that. But just in my eyes, I think lower cost, let people meet regularly and connect with them where they exist, which is on social media, not in private Facebook groups, but in public Facebook. Right.
Yeah. For sure. Maybe do like an open house or something.
Love that.
Put up a poster in the magic shop and be like, come check it out, see if it's for you or whatever.
No, to do a video, try to make a hilarious viral video with all of the magic experts in your city.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like, and then you, for an event upcoming, like, I don't know, band together. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, those would be the things that I would do. Okay, so the next question, I think you skipped one, but I don't know. Okay.
I've been skipping.
Hi, Jonah and Tyler. Yeah, okay, no worries. Hi, Jonah and Tyler. If you could sit down, have dinner, and a session with 4 magicians of your choice, who would they be and why?
I'm going to go with, obviously, Vernon. Actually, I don't know that I'd pick Vernon. I feel like he'd be a shit dinner guest, right? He'd be drunk and like shit talking us the whole time.
All I'm saying is, like, all I know about him is like some videos and rumors. And I'm just going to pick people that are alive, just in case the people that are dead aren't very nice people. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, what do I know about the dead people? What am I going to, like?
Honestly,
let's just go. I'm going to stick to alive.
Okay. This is going to sound real freaking weird, but like, my people are going to be people I've had dinner with. Because I know I like having dinner with them. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's like, what magicians out there am I like dying to meet? None, really. Like I'd be thrilled to meet any of them, and they're great. But okay, all right. In terms of people I haven't actually met in person that I think would be a great person to jam out with, I'm gonna go Josh J. I know you mentioned him earlier, but I'm going to go with Zabrecki just because I think he's a very interesting character. I hate to say it, but I'm going to go Copperfield.
Oh
because
yeah, that was actually a direction that I was going as
because
well. He's gonna be at my table
I
as
just
well.
think it would be so awesome to hear his take on the business as well. Like he knows so much about everything. He's got his hand in every freaking jar there is, and he's just such a powerful force in the Magic world. So I'm going to pick Copperfield. And do I have to pick alive or dead? Do I have to pick alive, or can I go dead if I want?
Literally do whatever
All
you
right,
want.
my
I literally
fourth
don't.
person is going to be Jesus. I'm going to pick Jesus.
That would be a fun comparison because you're like, this is now real magic. Yeah. Let's talk this out. Interesting. Okay. So mine are 1, David Copperfield, 2, Penn.
Oh my
3,
God.
Teller.
Fuck you.
Yeah, snipe.
Fuck
I sniped them. I sniped them at dinner. Copperfield can go to both, but Penn and Teller are actually busy
Why the
for some
fuck
reason.
am I talking to Josh J?
And then this one, and then this one, which is interesting, but I would have Tamariz there as well. And I would love to just, I would love to participate in the conversation, but I would also really enjoy watching a conversation between Tamariz and
Penn and Teller.
And Teller, right? Or like, I would just love to see just what that is about, such a high level of magic that I can take in, like I would like to eavesdrop on that like that's why it's not it's not at a table with one person, it's with 4, because I want to hear their conversations.
Yeah. Right? Okay, so how do you find a creative spark? I'm having trouble creating something new. I will usually look through my old effects, methods, and sleights, and sometimes I run through a book like Expert Card Technique, etc., and force myself to create an effect using the first sleight I find. Recently, though, this seems to lead to the same old stuff. A neat little routine, finding a lost card, or transposing something to a card box. How do I find that breakthrough idea? That was all caps. Do you just keep plugging away, flush the crap out of my system, and eventually find something new I feel good about? Sorry, I am a terrible reader. But how do you find the creative spark? Usually for me, it just happens. And I hate to say that, but when I'm sit down and I want to create something new and completely fresh and completely new, I put my cards away and I pick up an object. I'll go to the dollar store, I'll grab a thing, I'll just play with the thing and look at it until I come up with a trick I can do with it. Sometimes that turns into me completely ditching that and going back to cards with a new idea in mind, right? You can just sort of open up a different pathway for your thoughts to go in, and you'll start to apply the methods and things you already have. Instead of trying to work them into place, you'll just see that they fit in the place.
Yeah, well, the question comes down to like, what is a breakthrough idea? And are you going to find a breakthrough idea by opening a book to a sleight and coming up with trick with that sleight? I think potentially not. I think potentially that's not how the best magic is come up with. So I'll mention 2 things. Number one, if there's 2 different things that you could be trying to come up with, which could be breakthrough. If you're talking about a breakthrough method, then you won't find that by you taking a method from a book and trying to make a trick out of it, mm-hmm. right? Like if you're looking for a breakthrough method, you're going to do that by fiddling or by attempting or testing it out. If you're looking through a breakthrough routine, then that's either going to happen by you sitting down and scripting, or you performing it and just randomly trying out a new routine and seeing how that plays a little bit, and then maybe later sitting down and writing things down. So in terms of breakthrough, those are the 2 things. If you're talking about a breakthrough trick that's using a sleight, I don't know. It depends on how you define that. I don't know what else that would mean through breakthrough. I think there's brilliant techniques and there's brilliant presentations. And I could be doing a brilliant technique, but that's not mine. I'm assuming by breakthrough you mean your own, but I think it's going to be hard to come up with something breakthrough by taking a technique from a book. I mean, unless the technique part is not the thing that you're trying to break through on. You know what I'm saying? Like, sure. I just need to understand what it means. But I would say hopefully that answers your question. Okay, the next question is from Lawrence DeMello, who says, "Hi, Jonah. I'd like to know how other magicians organize their notes. Do they have a system? Do they have one notebook for cards, another for coins, etc.? Thanks, Lawrence. That is a great question. My short answer is I am not qualified to answer that question. I don't have great tracking of my notes. I just have notes in certain notebooks randomly scattered for no reason in their place for no reason. But I sort of remember where they all are. And I try my best to copy things over to my computer so that if those notebooks get lost, which I tend to do to things, that I will still have it in the cloud. So that's what I say, but I will tell you that there's nothing more enthralling than seeing a magician's incredible notebook. So if somebody listening to this has a great notebook system, feel free to share it because I would love to hear what that is. I can't promise that I'll use it, but I might try if I come up with new stuff. And you know what? Sometimes organizational systems are so good that it helps you even be creative. So if someone has a really good one, I'd love to hear about it. Tyler, do you have any good notebook system?
I do voice notes because, as you can tell, I'm not the best with the reading and writing based on the way I'm reading these emails. I'll answer your question by saying yes, there are magicians that do that. But everyone has their own system for everything in terms of how they organize their lives and their thoughts and the information they want to keep. You really just got to find one that works good for you. A lot of times I will not just take voice notes and be like, okay, and then remember this thing or whatever. I'll grab my phone and record the note, and I will just spit out, like I'll improv a full set, like the entire idea, and just flush it out and then forget about it and re-listen to it and pick out the parts that I like. But I just sort of go into performance mode and just by myself, kind of like a lunatic, act out the whole idea that I had. And then from there, there's folders and it's all in the cloud and all that stuff. But yeah, it's sort of a personal thing.
I want us to drill through that 4-question one that came in that scared you a little. I want to come and take it on. So it's from Alan Thornton. So he said, I'll list a bunch of questions just in case some of them were already answered. Pick your favorite. Well, just drill through them unless we've heard them already. So number 1 says, having a nice website is fine and dandy, but how do you get initial live photos and videos to demonstrate what you do? Easy answer. Hire a photographer and videographer. If you don't have money to do that, hire a friend who can take photos. If you don't have money to do that, give a friend nearby your smartphone and have them take photos. If you don't have a smartphone, have someone nearby with a smartphone, take photos of the smartphone, and then send it to your email. I guess that answers that question. Number 2, finding a mentor. I don't need your opinion on that, Tyler. Did I miss anything?
What if they don't have friends?
Ask a nearby stranger. Cool. Okay. Number 2, finding a mentor is recommended by many pros, but costs are expensive to some, up to $200 an hour. That's true. How does one seek a mentor who is on a budget? That's a great question. So my first magic teacher ended up charging me something like that. It was like $150 an hour, and his name was Ben Train. And I did like, and I feel for this guy, right? Because I did like 4 or 5 sessions with him, and I learned a lot. But I was just like, I can't pay this money this regularly, right? The truth is, only when I start to engage with these people is when you learn from them directly, right? Just talking about Ben for another example is only when I started to take on a project with him is when I started to learn directly. So if I have advice, here's my secret sneaky advice. If you want to learn how to work with a mentor, start a small project with them and you'll learn exactly how they work. Or invite on them on, make a project for them or with their writings or with their videos or something. Give it, like do something for them with them, and you'll have a reason to engage with them, and hopefully you can build that sort of relationship. A mentor-mentee relationship is like a friendship. So the question you're asking is like, how am I friends with someone instead of him charging me hundreds of dollars an hour? And the question is, I don't know, right? Like, like you have to help them with, give them something they want. I don't know, right? Like you have to be good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I guess like if you're looking for someone who says I'm a magic mentor, this is my price, then yeah, you're going to be stuck in those like that realm. But if you approach someone who's just older, like sorry, not older, what's like more has more expertise in magic, and you just genuinely ask them a question and don't say, "Hey, will you be my mentor?" and just engage with them on like a human to human level, it'll develop
Exactly.
so like I don't have
Well, they might want to
yeah.
help you, and then you'll want to help them and engage with them, and
Yeah, like
like
I'm sure if you sat down and you were like, "Will you teach me everything that's in Erdnase?" that they'll be like, "Fuck off, kid." You're like, "Go away." But if you are like, "Hey, I read all of Erdnase and this one part is confusing. Do you know how to do this?" I'm sure they'll answer that question in that moment. And if you just keep doing that, you do all your work at home and all the things you can't pinpoint, you go and you ask those questions, or you just go and you perform the things you're working on, and they'll spot the things and they'll tell you, and the more you do that, the more they will know your face.
be great and be a good person.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
that's
Don't be a shithead. And when they tell you you're doing something wrong, you have to just accept that. You know what I mean? Like, I've
Mhm.
never hung out with the majority of the people that go and buy things in the magic store, but I know their faces and I say hello and I know them by name and they know me by name, and we always catch up whenever I'm there. They're like, "Oh, it's been so long, great to see you," blah, blah, blah. And that's just because when I was a kid, I never had a magic mentor. I went after school to the magic store 4 days a week and just sat and talked to people and did magic. So that's how that happened.
Right. Right. Yeah. Spend time near other magicians. Like, if you want a magic mentor, spend time near other magicians. That's the short answer. His question number 3 is, how do you rehearse your act? So I'll tell you my process, and then I'll tell you what's wrong with it. But I'll just tell you what I love, what my process is right now. So first, I come up with the trick, and that involves me thinking, writing stuff down, and potentially using my hands and body to make sure that something works, and videoing it and making sure something works. After that, it goes to me recording my voice of me doing it. I don't record the video because I don't know why, but I record the audio because just listening to it is better for me because I'm trying to rehearse the script. I listen to it like that, and then I transcribe that, and that's what I'm reading when I'm rehearsing my act. So what I was going to say is the only thing that's wrong with it is not actually wrong with it, but the next step is something that I took from the episode with James Allen, who said like most of the problems with the first time you're doing a trick on stage can be solved by you just doing it in front of a video camera and then looking at it and checking how stupid it looks. So that is like a really big reminder for me. And now I make sure to do that when I'm trying something really new. But that's my process. Tyler, do you have any process for how you rehearse your act?
Yeah. So to come up with it, it's sort of the same. I do a lot of the hand gestures and the this, that, and the other. And physically play around with it and see if it. I try to think all the way through the act and see if I can, uh, you know, do all the steps and it should work. I think so. Okay, I'll try it. I don't record my voice immediately right away unless, like I said earlier, I just had a random idea and I'm trying to spit it out and remember it. I actually jump straight to scripting, but I don't ever like I've seldom. I think I've done it twice. Um, I seldom script the entire act. I basically script until I am tired, and that usually is like the opening lines and like halfway through the first part of the trick, and then I'm like, I don't
Right.
want to do this anymore. And that's when I get out my video camera. I've already memorized the first chunk of it, and then I just sort of power through to the end as if I was performing live and I only had the first half of my script, and then watch that video back and I make my
Mhm.
edits from there.
So your scripting is sort of like your launching pad.
Yeah, it's sort of like I need to feel really solid on my feet at the start, and then I'm gonna try to jump whatever
Yeah.
hurdles I see.
So his next question is, how should someone who wants to start getting gigs but doesn't have that much experience in performing except for family, friends, and his or herself set goals for themselves to get gigs efficiently. So my answer would be, we have proved that you don't need to learn every trick in the world to be able to perform and get gigs. So I would say, make sure that you learn much more magic than you need and do enough research to spend time learning what you need to learn. And then get out there and start getting good at those tricks. You're only going to get good at it by performing. So keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Take, in the beginning, for the first long time, take every gig that you can to perform. Charge as little as possible, next to $0, so that people can hire you. Take photos and videos and get testimonials, and be good enough so that those testimonials are good. And if you're not good enough, then go to an open mic night to practice, or rehearse it, or write it again, or read more books about comedy or about writing, and just keep rinsing and repeating those things, and you'll start to get better. Learn from people, get a mentor, spend time with other magicians, go watch live theater, do all of those things, and you'll start to get better.
Yeah, that's pretty much all.
You know why I'm laughing? I'm laughing because it's my life now, is to do, right? Like you do something and you're like, wow, finally it's good. And you look at your stuff and you're like, wow, this sucks horribly. What am I missing? This. And then you do research in that area. And then all of your research surmounts to you, like, maybe adding one interesting, great thing. And then you take that and then you're like, finally something good. You're like, oh, but now this other shit sucks, right? And it's just learning and rinsing and repeating. That's what it comes down
to. So the question is, who, in your opinion, is the most influential person you have spoke to on the podcast, and for what reasons?
So answer, what do you think? Who do you think is the most influential person that we've spoken to? It's actually an interesting question, because I have probably a different answer than you're going to have.
I don't know. See, like, the influenced in different ways. That's the problem, right? Like, Garrett Thomas influenced me in a very artistic way. Justin Willman influenced me in a very social way, where he was just so positive and it was so fun to talk to him as like a genuine person. Like, he really riled me up and got me excited about magic again. Recently, when we interviewed, oh God, sorry, late night. Who? Dave and Buster's.
Dave Curran.
Dave Curran, thank you so much. My apologies, Dave. But yeah, Dave Curran really inspired me to freaking hustle and make them dollars. You know what I mean? So it's a really it's a tough question. But Jonah, you said you had a different answer.
It's super interesting that you took the approach of influential to you. I don't know which people are influential to me. I would say, in terms of people we've interviewed that are the most influential, the one who is like the most shockingly influential is actually Damien Aditya. He is a massive star. He has he has something like, I don't know what it is. It's like 500,000 Instagram subscribers. And there are like Damien Aditya fan pages that are full with thousands of followers themselves. There's people who are following him and all of his appearances around the globe, right? He is such a massive star. It's unbelievable. And it's crazy that we got him on. There's just so many levels, so many times that has actually come up, even though it's on the other side of the world. So in terms of locally, I have no idea. But in terms of globally,
Damien for sure.
Probably him, it's probably him. But a lot of people rant and rave about Aussie Wind just for who he is, or David Williamson for who he is, or I'm just talking in terms of interviews that we have had that people rave about how influential the person is, or Joshua J. People talk about that. But I don't know. In terms of worldly influential, he's probably the most. But who knows? I don't know exactly what you mean. Okay, the next question comes from Alec Blanco, who is awesome on Instagram. And we've spoken before, assuming this is the person who I think it is. But I think it is. So he says, I believe that many magicians, including myself, and in most cases are introverts. And they used magic to help them somewhat break out of their shell / comfort zone and interact with people. One thing I see is that many magicians still hide behind the magic and don't/can't engage in a normal conversation. For example, a magic buddy of mine and I were at a college party and he started performing for some ladies. So I left him alone to go ahead and do his thing. After 20 minutes later, I come make my ways back and he's still doing magic for them. And I could tell that they weren't entertained. They were just being nice, trying to say, they were like, okay, we got to go. Now, I'm a big fan of personal development. I believe it's important in everyday life, but I can see how it would help those who don't know how to engage in conversation and are maybe too shy. Here's my question. Do you think personal development is an important aspect to help one as a magician become a better magician? If so, are there any books or motivational speakers that you would recommend to help aid other magicians that are going down this road? So the question is, sometimes magicians are only magic people. All you do and think about and are is magic, and you don't know really how to interact with people otherwise. And when you do magic, they go crazy, and then otherwise you're boring and you don't say anything or do anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ultimate question. And what are resources to fix that? So Tyler, do you have any immediate resources that come to mind?
Not only will you be great when you're doing magic and boring when you're not, but you'll be uncomfortable when you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it'll be awkward to stand around someone who doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to engage, and only wants you to pick a card and go through their script. So my advice isn't, and Jonah, you can argue me on this, but I don't think you need to go read a book on how to socialize to learn how to socialize. So maybe it's helpful for some people. I don't know, but I was that kid. I couldn't do anything other than magic for most people for a lot of years. And the way I got over it was just by not bringing as much magic with me and really limiting the amount of magic I did to perform. One of the biggest things that I think magicians specifically forget is that the only time people are 100% focused on you and only care about you is when you're doing magic, right? Like, that's when their attention is going to be, who are you? What are you doing? Tell me. And you just have to be magic, 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 magic. And then the moment you stop doing magic, you think they're still asking all those questions and being like, okay, all right, let me size this kid up or whatever. And that's not usually the case. They might ask you questions about yourself, how you got into magic, what your other interests are, but that's because they're genuinely interested. Sorry, that was a long rambly thing for the one point that I never ended up making, is that people like to talk about themselves. Ask questions and you can listen. You don't have to be the seminar speaker. You can just be another person in the crowd like everybody else. And that's totally
so
fine.
I have two answers, and I love those. I have two answers. My first is read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's the best book ever, and it has all the answers to all your questions about everything. So that's number one. So just go read that. That's the best resource on the subject on the planet. The second thing that I would say is have other interests. That's the way to not only talk about magic, is to do other things and think about other things other than magic and have other interests and experiences other than magic. And I don't know, engage and care about other people and find it exciting when other people talk. I don't know.
Yeah, caring's important.
Yeah, exactly.
This is from Ron Porter. So what's the magic scene like in Canada? I'm visiting Montreal and Quebec City at the end of next week. Montreal's a great city to hit up. Though we only have one magic shop, there's a lot of places you can go see magic. There's a lot of magicians here.
A lot of magic.
I would probably try reaching out to any local magicians that you know of in Montreal, or if you can find any Montreal magic groups. We're friendly Canadians over here, and we love to talk.
The magic scene in Canada is super dope and really friendly and really cool. And magicians are awesome, and everything I've found so far is great. And hospitality is amazing. I know Toronto's fantastic, and everywhere else it's great too. So
the weather is shit.
The weather is sometimes cold, okay. But if you're coming right now, then the weather will be fine. So that's okay. Okay. The next question comes from Lorenzo Viveros. Maybe I'm messing that up. So he says, Hey, Jonah slash Tyler, hope you're doing well. My question, which hopefully brings up creative ideas, is the following. For a younger magician, how can I possibly find a style and a character in order to introduce a deeper meaning into my performance? Keep up the amazing work, Lorenzo. Okay, so the first question is I'm not the foremost expert on character. And like I mentioned earlier, the reason I love Rob Zabrecki is because he is, and I'm so enthralled with him right now, which means it's like my weakest thing right now. But I will voice my thoughts on character and particularly about making a deeper meaning. From everything I've learned so far, the best magic presentations are somehow about you, your beliefs in the world, what you think about the world, what you say, your experiences. That's what it comes from. So if you want to develop a character, think about what stories you can tell. Like you want to develop a character, you want to introduce a deeper meaning. So think about what stories about you can tell that can incite people to feel certain things or think certain things. And if that's what you want to put in the world, and put those together, and that will build your character. Your character is built out of your stories and your experiences and who you are and who you tell them who you are. So let it come from what it is that you want to tell them, and hopefully if it's to do a deeper meaning, then hopefully that's from your accurate experiences. Tyler, do you have any?
Yeah, it was sort of like recently we've heard from a few different people, just find a part of yourself and exaggerate it, and that's honestly been the most actionable and reasonable advice that I think we've gotten on that subject. um, and don't be afraid to change your character. It's not your real personal identity, it's not like you have to choose between, I don't know, things that define people. like
Yeah.
you can change that very easily. So try new things, never be afraid to make changes, and just really look introspectively and find one detail about yourself that you think would be entertaining if it was blown up to the nth degree. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. This next question. Okay, Jonah. Well, you asked for it, so here it goes. I really love your podcast and I get a lot from it. Obviously, your whole thing is about theory, but I would like to hear a bit more about practical theory, like strong magic style. And my question is, what trick has served either of you best throughout the years, Joe? I don't really know what served me best. Like, I really like doing Cellmates by Paul Harris because there's a practical thing of getting
Mm-hmm.
people's contact information with it. Um, it really has. It's a great way to make like lasting relationships and connections with people. But like, yeah, the ambitious card is a solid routine.
Yeah.
Like we talk about how you should stay away from it in terms of like putting your creative efforts into it, really. But like, I don't know. The basic stuff's really good. The ambitious card to pocket, card under box, deck under box, stuff like that. Sponge balls. No. I'm going to put it on sponge balls. 100% final answer. I'm
That's a great
locked
answer
in.
also.
Sponge balls.
Yeah. I would say a few different things. What trick has served me best? I know this is actually a slight and not a trick, but I would say interesting abilities to force cards have done so much damage in my life. Like uncanny ways to force cards and to force numbers has done a lot of help. So seeing if you can do that verbally and physically with techniques, that has served me really, really, really the best in terms of card magic. In terms of stage, I don't know, but I will say a trick that has served me best is Toxic with on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to really just stop doing it because there's so many reasons, because some people know it or whatever, but there was many years where that trick just really served me best. So that was really good. Okay, the next question from Ellis James says, what magic effect do you find most beautiful?
The most beautiful. Man, that is a great question. Like the thing that jumps to mind is shadows.
Yeah,
But like,
usually does.
but yes, that's beautiful, and there's no denying that. But there's some tricks out there that like they just really. really hit home. Like the psychic touch stuff is really cool.
Yeah.
Anything that's involving a very personal thing for somebody, that changes their day in a big way.
You know what I find the most beautiful? I'm about to say it, and then you're just gonna go, "Fuck it!" I scrap at the answer that you ready?
Yeah.
The effect that y'all are about to see Nick Wallace do on Penn and Teller Fool Us. That's that one.
Okay.
That right there, that's what I think is most beautiful. I actually am not 100% positive which effect he's doing, but from the photo, I think I know that if he's doing the one with Oreos, and if he is, then that effect, because he just is the best ever at it, and he's amazing, and everything he has is so special. And like, I watched that trick, and it's beautiful. Nick Wallace's magic is the most beautiful. That's actually how I feel.
All right. So from Derek Renfro, we have, how do you stay motivated to keep working on a sleight when it seems that you're never going to get it?
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on it?
I give up on things that I think I'll never be able to do. I hate to say that, but like, I can't do a clip shift. I tried for a year and a half. I can't do it. I can't do it. The thing is, if you want it bad enough, you're going to keep doing it. Like,
I have a super similar approach, like, and it's actually maybe not a good approach, but I have two things. Number one, like, I continually practice anti-farrowing, and I've maybe hit it 3 times in my life ever. But I'll continue practicing, and I'll never hit it. Clip shift, I can't do. Maybe there's better training, and there's something that I just don't know, but maybe I'm unable to do it. The truth is, I actually just pull audibles when I can't do stuff. It's not super often that there's things I can't do, and that there's things that, and also it's just about the cost benefit analysis of you saying, like, is it worth my second deal getting 40% better? And for some people, it is. That extra quarter of an inch and perfectness every time is going to help you in life, and for other people that's not. And so that's just what it comes down to, like, how much more hours do you want to put in that thing, and like, how critical is that for you to pull off the thing that you're trying to do? And maybe can you pull an audible and do things a little bit differently, because like, are you in love with the effect? Are you in love with the method? Right? So if you're in love with the effect, then can you find a better method? And if you're in love with the method, then we're talking about a different story here. Then just enjoy practicing it, right? Like,
right.
You don't need to perform it. Okay. The next question. Dear Jonah, not that I know.
Who's it by?
Oh, sorry. Fairy Garats. Fairy Garats. So he says, Dear Jonah, not that I know everything. Certainly not. A great way to believe it. But at the moment, there isn't a single question that comes to mind that I'd like to have. Okay, that's thanks for I'm reading that so intensely, and all he replied to tell me he didn't have a question. Thank you, Fairy. Okay, from the next question, from that's super funny, from Matt Hamilton, said, do you think it's possible to make 6 figures as a magician and not be on the road most of the year? Interesting question. I think it depends on 2 things. Number one, I think it might be challenging to do it not in a big city, or at least a medium city. So it would need to be a medium city if you don't want to spend time. And when you say on the road, I'm assuming you're meaning a car. So I'm assuming that also means an airplane is off limits. So I think you're going to need a car. Like, I think you're going to need to be on the road and potentially drive like an hour and a half in either direction. But you might be able to pull that off, or potentially if you get your own show somewhere, that would be the way to do it, by not traveling a lot. Otherwise, or I mean, like, I don't know, maybe you find a market where their budget is higher and you're able to.
It really depends on the magician. What you mean by magician? Like, you want to be performing magic for clients that are going to pay you money? Or like Chris Ramsey, he's a magician. I'm sure he's caking off of his YouTube, right? Like, he's got 1 million+ subscribers and he performs magic. And like, I mean, he's on the road a lot, but like, do you consider him a YouTuber? Like,
totally. You know I mean? So you just have to think about, like, yeah, and what do you mean by on the road, and like, how far are you willing to travel, and like, how much do you want to do online and offline? That's a super good. Okay.
This next one is from Chris in all caps. Says, Jonah, First, let me say that I love your podcast, and I think you do a fantastic job interviewing your guests, and I'm a huge fan of the way you focus on theory. Would you consider putting yourselves on Patreon? That way, folks like me can make monthly donations to support you guys. Thanks, Chris. I'm gonna let you take that one away. Take that one because it's sort of your department.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I'll just tell you how I feel about Patreon, which is that I think it's great. And I think if people want to support and do something like Patreon, it's really good. The people who I see are really succeeding with Patreon have a whole other branch of content that they're selling through that. And the truth is something's coming. There is a major product that's coming. And I just figured that if I focus on making sure that the product is that there's versions of it that are able for people depending on their budget. For example, there's a $50 version of the product, and then maybe there's a $100 version of the product, and then maybe if someone wants like individual health, there might be the hundreds of dollar version of the product, so that anybody who has listened to this thing can, without question, buy one of the products as just support, right? Like if it's $50, it'll come down to like, I don't know, 30 cents or 40 cents an episode. So, I hear what you're saying, and I want to give people the opportunity to support what we do by giving us money. But I just think that I don't want to say like, give me a monthly donation. I would rather come up with a valuable product that people can buy as both a memento for this moment in time for how amazing and fun this podcast has been, and as a way to support the podcast. And hopefully I'm giving you something that is of value enough that you want to buy and either put on your shelf or put in your library or download into your brain or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Okay. That's how I feel about it. But at the end of the day, I could be convinced, but most of me feels like I would rather just tell you.
If you're listening to this and you're just pissed off that you haven't been able to give money to Discourse in Magic, send us an email telling us that.
You can, yeah, I'll let you send me money. You know what, Chris? I will send. I will personally, if you want, just reply and I'll send you my PayPal link, and you can send me however much money you want. If anybody wants to send me money, I won't stop you. Because I would surely take it. But yeah, I mean, and it's a good question. But I just think that I don't want to be nagging you forever to buy my stuff. When we had shirts up, I was like, hey, there's shirts. When we had our other stuff up, we had, hey, there's other stuff. And then we don't. But that being said, I'm going to make an announcement right now that is like 90% going to happen. Okay. And I think this is a reasonable announcement, which is there might be a big release of a thing at episode 150. That's all I'm going to say. All I'm going to say is plan for 150. There might be things coming. Maybe it's books. Maybe it's information. I don't know what it is, but 150 is going to be a big number. That's all I'm saying. Okay. The next question is from Timothy Judson. And he said, what have been your favorite episodes so far? What level warlock are you? And will you ever surpass Jabreezes, the man who's bringing magic the swag it's never had? How much wood could a woodchuck palm if a woodchuck could palm wood? And what is your all-time favorite trick to completely blow people's minds? Wow. Okay. I guess just number 1 and 4 are important. Number 1, what has been your favorite episode so far? I don't know, Tyler, what has been your favorite episode? Really hard. Right now, the one that's in my head is probably David Williamson. That one I just spent the most time laughing, and it was super enjoyable.
Yeah, that was really fun. It's like, I guess Williamson's good. I really enjoyed recording with Chris Mayhew super early on. That was just a fun night. Oh, Lee Asher, for sure. Because he took us out, he cooked us dinner. It was fantastic. It was amazing.
Okay, and the second one there is, what is your favorite trick to completely blow people's minds? Right now, the one that people are particularly loving that I've been doing a little bit more, I did it for a while before I stopped, and then I'm doing it back again, is Catch 23. I love that trick, and it's particularly blowing people's minds. Tyler, do you have something that's particularly blowing people's minds?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's my favorite, but it's something that I've been doing a lot lately. And that's how do I say this without giving away the method? When they take a picture of themselves, like a selfie, or I take a picture of them. That's not a selfie, obviously. I take a picture of them holding a coin. I change the coin into a different coin, and then the picture changes.
Yes, I know.
You know,
That's trick. Very,
very good trick. Also,
yes. Canadian trick.
Woodchuck would palm all the wood he could palm if a woodchuck could palm wood.
Nice, slayed it.
There we go, killed it. Okay, next one. This is from Randy Naveau. I'm assuming it's French, so I'm gonna say Naveau. Yeah, I'm probably still mispronouncing it, but anyway. Here's a question in 2 parts. Part A: how long should an effect fool a spectator? 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 year? Should it be unsolvable?
Question.
Part B:
great question.
if the viewer can intuit how the trick is done after the initial shock factor, then should that effect have ever been performed in the first place? It's a great question.
Whoa.
That's a hard-hitting question.
I want to read the little paragraph below it. Can I read it really quick? So he said, I first ran into this issue when working behind the counter at a local magic shop a couple decades ago. An individual would come by the next day and offer their solutions to some of the effects they had seen. They were usually right. This is when I first started formulating my 1-year goal. I want an effect to stand the test of time. A year later, I don't want it to be able to be solved. I think that the actual time frame you need to shoot for is probably less, as the few times I have had someone mention a trick I did over a year ago, they invariably misremember some critical aspect of it. It's no longer my goal to fool the person when they see the effect. I want them to be fooled later. Takes a bit of thought. Whoa. Okay, what are your thoughts on how long should they be fooled for? A second, a minute, forever?
It depends on how long they're going to continue to think about it. I mean, if they're just going to sit...
But do you think all tricks should be unsolvable? Like, if it's not unsolvable, then it shouldn't be done?
I don't know that I feel that... Sometimes I want them to have a false solution. Personally. I'm not saying everyone should agree with that. But
okay, but what if like 3% of your audience will just know how you do the trick? Like, I
know what you're saying. I'm just, it's not like a black and white for me because, you know, I think it varies from effect to effect, definitely. And the other thing, I guess it should be impossible forever. That should be your end goal. But I don't think that the part 2, I don't agree. He asked it as a question, but I don't think that if they can intuit something about it, that it necessarily shouldn't have been performed at all. If they can intuit something and it's not exactly right, and that grounds them in themselves, and they're like, I think he did this, but it's not the answer, then maybe that's okay. Like, it's kind of tough. I
think it's an awesome question. I think it's a really cool question, and I think that it depends on what you're doing. For example, I do the balloon swallow, and there's some people who I think about this question a different way, which is I say to someone, do you know how I did it? And they say no. And then I say, if I gave you $1 million fucking dollars, if you guessed how I swallowed that balloon, what would you guess? Literally 100% of the time, the next thing out of their mouth is the actual answer.
Right.
Literally 100% of the time, right? So do I still do that trick? Yeah, and I also think it's entertaining, and that's why I do it. In a perfect world, no, I guess all of my magic would be fooling for the rest of time. But I also think it's fine for people to be entertained in the moment. And the other thing is people are just going to intuit the most natural solution. Even the tricks that fooled me the most, I would still be like, oh, maybe it's just, and whatever that thing that you come up with, even if it's ridiculous, that's what'll let you sleep at night. So like people are going to come up with a solution, to I don't think every trick is just going to be like, the world, there's nothing left. I have no sense of, it'll just be oh wow, how the 7s could change to 10s. Maybe he guessed that the guy was going to say 10,
I want it to be like a phone. You know what I mean? They're like, I don't know, but I can hit the apps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's sort of, I want them to be able, the reason I wasn't happy with saying like they intuit something that's wrong and latch onto that is because it sounds like I want them to believe something that isn't true, or they're just going to be like, oh yeah, it was magnets or whatever. But at the end, but that's fine because they're going to latch onto something. There's almost, it's impossible for you to do a magic trick and make them join your cult. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't, or I mean, it's not impossible, but you shouldn't be aiming to do that in the first place.
So the next question comes from Jeremy Hanrahan, which is Gaff Guy, who is someone who we had as a guest on the podcast, who needs to make more gaffs. So the question is, my question would be, what kind of magic do you two perform? So why don't you go first?
I do, I guess, a wide variety of different types of magic. I haven't really locked into a specific genre of it. I do mainly close-up stuff because that's the easiest to get access to, and I'm not like hustling every day to get up on stage. I do a lot of card magic, mainly card magic. I'll do magic with other physical objects and props. When I'm on stage, I'm a lot less serious than a lot of magicians are. I'm more in the comedy world, less in the magic world. That's pretty much me in a nutshell, I guess. Mm-hmm. What about you?
I would say I am mostly a close-up card magician. Particularly, I have a close-up table show, a private show for 20 people, which is the hardest hitting thing that I have. So that's what I'm leaning towards, is like the term like private magician, or like, you know, private parties, intimate, because that's what I do a lot of, is private parties, intimate close-up magic. Mm-hmm. But in the last year and a half span, I've been doing a lot more what I would call stage, but what most people would call parlor. But that's basically the stages. Maybe, I mean, as big as 600 people, but I mean, mostly I treat even that like parlor. So I do parlor style and close-up card magic, as well as a few other close-up effects and anything else that tickles or excites me, right? But those are the two areas that I really focus on.
Cool. Next question is from Richard Villarreal. All right. Jonah, I love the community that magic brings together. Unfortunately, I'm from Kenosha, Wyoming. Is that what that is? WI? Is Kenosha a country? Okay. Kenosha, WI. I don't know geography even a little bit.
It's probably in the States.
Yeah. And there isn't a giant magic community this way.
Do you know anybody in the Chicago, Milwaukee area who would be interested in mentoring? So no, I don't know people directly, but Chicago, yes, go to the Chicago Magic Lounge. If you don't think there's magicians in Chicago, you literally have no idea what you're talking about. Milwaukee, I don't know anything about, and I don't know where Kenoa is. Maybe that's Wisconsin or Kenosha, sorry. But I literally don't know anything about either. Right. No, that's probably wrong also, so don't worry. But yeah, just look for them. I bet there are magicians, and if there aren't, start a club and start teaching 3 people magic, and then you'll have a community of 4 people. There you go. Ta-da. Okay.
It's Wisconsin. You were right.
Was it?
Yeah, I had to look it up. It was
okay. Next, from Nicholas Bursky. So it says, how do you best predict what could go wrong with a particular trick in a show? I assume by performing in front of audiences regularly until you've worked out all the rough patches, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So yeah, super quickly, I would say that try to think of where things could go wrong. There, like, if you really think of it, there's not that many things that could happen. Like, just think of all the worst case scenarios and what could go wrong and how you might handle it. But yeah, what you're saying is exactly right. Just, you know, things will go wrong and you'll be like, haha, that trick didn't work. And as long as your whole act doesn't work, as long as your whole act doesn't not work, then you'll probably be able to salvage your performance on whatever that stage was, and it'll be a learning experience. So you're exactly right. Learning your outs is from actually making the mistakes, but just think about it before and see what outs you can come up with and save yourself from. Tyler, did I miss anything on that?
No, I mean, yeah, just think about what the most important, crucial things are Like what makes the magic happen. Look at what things could make those things not happen, and then don't let those things happen.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Okay, the next one is from Gary, and it says, "Can we have an interview with Joe Barry, please?" Maybe. Okay. The next one is from I am Kabir Nair on Instagram. What to keep in mind while making a trek? So, what do you keep in mind while making a trek?
Ooh, keep in mind what your audience is going to think and not what you think.
Totally. Relatability. I'm really trying to think about how I'm going to connect with people and if it's going to be funny and enjoyable and fooling. Yeah. So the next is I'm trying to put together an hour one-man show. Any tips?
Tips on how to put together an hour one-man show? It's going to be the same as coming up with any show. You sort of want to figure out what you want I'm so bad at words today for some reason, but what the overarching theme for your show should be, what the message for your show should be, what the takeaway for your show should be, what tricks you want to do are actually kind of going to be one of the last things you do before you start like actually working out the kinks and scripting it and stuff. The other thing is don't do this alone. It's a one-man show when you're performing it, and as many people as you can get supporting you and giving you ideas and advice and opinions is really what's going to make the one-man show successful.
Clever. Yeah, I would say think about what it is you want to say. Think about the tricks you want to do and that you know how to do, and that you can come up with methods or figure out ways how to do, and then rehearse, put in front of people, and edit. And rehearse, put in front of people, edit, and then reevaluate the message and make sure that what you're saying into the world is great. Okay, the next question is, will you feature Derek DelGaudio? We have told the story on here before. To make a long story short, next time I am in New York, it's a maybe. So I'll let you know. I'm working on it just as hard as you. Okay, the next question is, did you ever buy treks and they just didn't work? Should the supplier be obligated to help the buyer? Yes. I mean, I think that the tricks should work.
If it's not a mistake you made, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just make sure it's not a mistake they don't work, like the gimmick or whatever like is actually broken, of course.
Yeah.
But if you're like, hey, I went out and I did this trick and people didn't freak out the way I freaked out when you did this trick, they should probably help you with your performance, but it's not their duty to be like, oh, you didn't engage on these levels. Like paying for the method does not make you a magician.
Yeah. So, I mean, just like, hopefully that it's not an actual sham. Sorry, just to go through, the 1 hour show was from Clark Payne on Instagram. The Derek DelGaudio question was from Hagen Sam on Instagram. And the buying tricks question was from Tony Nicolaides. The next one is from Aman Jitsing 01. And it is, how do you keep your audience engaged? Bam. I would say that it is a constant game of ping pong between you and the audience where you're engaging with them and you can't miss a beat. And whether those beats are coming out very quickly or whether you're pausing and people are on the edge of their seats in every moment, it's just about keeping the control on things that are interesting and exciting and worth sharing, and journeys worth bringing your audience through. Any other thoughts, Tyler?
No, I think you nailed it there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like just try to keep them entertained and do things that are
relatable.
Relatable and awesome. Okay, this one is from To the Swan, which we know who that is. That's Jackie from Toronto. Hi, Jackie. How are you? So her question says, after 124 episodes of exploring the community, how have you noticed a change, or have you noticed a change in how you perform / approach magic?
Whoa. Yes. Whoa. Of course.
Yeah. So of course. And I'll say a few different things. Number one is like, the glory of this podcast was that I would have all these people to look up to our conversations with. So when I'm struggling with something, I ask myself, what would so and so and so do? And I'm picking the person who I think is best at that thing that I struggle with. You know what I mean? And I brought that up a few times during this episode. So I think that's the way that it serves me, is I get to say to myself, if I was X, how would I handle this? You know, and see if I can pull the patterns from the right people. And yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously, I can't live two lives, so I don't know how much it's helped, but I can only imagine that it's helped. And each interview and each conversation has formed my opinions about magic and the way that I do things and everything. You know, so I can only imagine. Yes.
Yeah, there's no real way I could see myself like I wouldn't be able to have the conversations that we've had in the past, few months to a year if we didn't have the conversations we had in the first week. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Not first week, but first few months.
And the last question is from Mogan Asuntar on Instagram, and the question is, why some magicians are against mentalism? So why are magicians against mentalism? Well, how do you feel?
Well, I mean, you'd have to ask those magicians, but generally, the sort of consensus that I've got from the people who don't like it is that it's a little too pseudosciency, and there's no element of like there's a method that he could have done, or like there's not a stage grandiose, lots of boxes or anything like that. It's just sort of words and thoughts, and a lot of people walk out of that theater thinking that people can read minds and influence decisions and things like that. The other thing is that it is just it's so the same, but it's so different. And magicians don't like seeing things that are different, and they don't like seeing things that are different fool audiences more badly and in a more meaningful way than they
Totally.
do, like, their art. You know what I mean? Like,
Totally. I think you hit the nail on the head. So I think the first part is, I think that there's some people who are really unhappy about the the fact that it's something fake that people are actually leaving the show believing, and they don't like that. And then the other half is, I think people say that, but their real problem is they don't like the fact that mentalism magic is often the easier to do technically, and they get amazing reactions and responses, and the reactions and responses are in favor of, like, oh my god, you can read my body language, you must be amazing, you must have the most amazing skills in the world. And it's like, it's fake skills, and it's like psychopath, you know what I mean? So like, you see this happening, and you see people admiring mentalists for their ability to read minds. You're like, fuck. That's why I think magicians hate mentalists. Okay, and the last segment, which I made up because we did okay with 139, so we might as well plow through, is we each get one question for each other, and you get to go first because I made up the segment.
okay. One question. What do you think is the best way to have all the secrets and have everyone just dying and dying and dying to know what's happening? Their world is shook, and they don't think you're an asshole for not telling them. How do you be God and just be loved for having all the control and not sharing it?
So you're just feeling super torn and uncomfortable about doing magic because it's impossible in
People
people,
are like, "Oh, how'd
and
you
you don't
do
like
it?" And
putting that
I
burden
want to
on
I want
people.
to tell them, but I'm like, I can't tell you, and they're like, why? And I'm like, because then you
I don't
won't
know.
enjoy it. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, it's just magicians, they never reveal their secrets. And I'm like, that's actually not the reason. Like, the reason is that I just don't want to ruin the magic for you. I'd be happy to tell you the secret. I'm more interested in the secret than what you're feeling right now,
Right. You're like, I
personally.
agree with you. The secret is the coolest
Yeah,
part, but we can't
but
go
if we
there.
go there, you're not going to think it's the coolest part anymore. So,
Totally. And how do you stop people from hating you doing magic? And you know what? My answer to that is, I don't know. It is a long and hard journey for me. That is the and I know that people think that this is such a crazy remark, but I think that is the giant bull that I'm fighting against, even though people react very much so. The best of the best is people reacting very much so, but the worst of the worst is a dislike and a puzzlement for the magic. But I would say the best way to solve that is to make it about something more than the method. Because if it's more than the method, then the experience as a whole is enjoyable, and they can take in the art form of it all, right? Like if we know we have a method that's fooling, ideally we can attach to it a story or a moment or an explanation or insight to the world or something about our lives or whatever, which enriches it enough that it's about something that isn't just how the trick works.
Yeah, I was to answer my own question. I was going to suggest that you focus more on your character and the other people and make it more about the people, less about the trick. Anyway, what's your question for me?
I would say my question for you is, what do you do when you feel like you are not growing fast enough in your magic? Like where do you go to when you're feeling lacking in your magic and you're hoping to learn more or do more?
Oh, very easy. I go to www.discourseandmagic.com.
Got him.
We did it. Okay.
You're flying full circle, bitch.
I've never really felt like I'm not growing fast enough as a magician, to be honest. And I know that sounds weird because I'm growing slower than literally everyone we've had on this podcast. But my goals for magic have never been like I want to be in the Magic Olympics. You know what I mean? Like I'm not there. I'm not trying to make it to the NHL or get my PhD in magic. It's always been a passive passion. And when I feel stuck and I'm frustrated and I don't like the magic that I'm doing and I'm not changing or growing in a direction that I like, I hang out with my magic friends and let them inspire me again, because I've never gone to a jam where I didn't walk away going, damn, magic's cool. And that's really what I do. If you're talking about people who want their careers or their skill level to go faster, to grow faster, then you really have to focus on those areas. Like learn business. Don't necessarily learn magic business. Learn event planning, and you know what I mean. Like there's so many different avenues in terms of magical growth, and I guess hang out with new people, talk to new people, and change. Just actually make changes. Whether or not they're good or bad, just make changes and adjust with them and see what you learn from that.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I know for me, when I'm feeling like I'm lacking, I often tend towards either resources like books or videos, or I tend towards introspective, and it's just me with a giant pad of paper and a pen, and I start writing out, the direction that I want to go and what I think I'm lacking and how to get there. And there you go. There's episode 125. That's like you said, it's 1.25. It's 5 quarters.
Five quarters. It's a loony plus over here.
It's a loony. Yeah, in Canada, it's a loony and a quarter. Yeah. Thank you guys for your questions. And we got some dope episodes coming up for you. And if you send me an email about what I said earlier about there potentially being a really cool product coming out at episode 150, if you send me an email, I might tell you some secrets about what it is. Or maybe I won't. Who knows? But
also, if you want to send Jonah money, you can also do that.
Oh yeah. Right. Reminder. You can just PayPal me money well, just send me an email to discourse@discourseofmagic and say, I have free money I want to give you, and I will send you all the links for you to do that. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, that was a good one. So there you go. Actually, yeah, fuck it. That's fine. I was going to tell a really ridiculous philosophical story, but it is way too crazy, and I think it's just the fact that it's 12:30 or 1:30 or whatever time it is. That
it's past my bedtime.
It's past my bedtime. So, anyways, thank you so much, guys, for the question. If we pronounce your name wrong, I'm sorry. If we asked you back a question, like if we're like, what do you mean by amazing or whatever, then respond to that so that maybe we can keep this discourse in magic going. That was the name drop. You waited 125 episodes.
I think that's the first time we've said keep this discourse going, but we have never said discourse in magic.
Yeah. I mean, I know it would have been cool if I didn't address it, but I just felt like I had to. Like that was so perfect. But yeah, anyway, so if there's more discourse needed, then respond to the email and we will keep the discourse in magic going. Hope you can hear me grinning through the microphone.
I definitely can hear you grinning through the microphone.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I thought that you could. And then yeah, other than that, big thanks. Anything else? Anything else you want to leave them with, Tyler?
I'll just say thank you again from me. Yeah, that's it. Nothing
That's
huge.
Fantastic. You've been thanked. You've been blessed. And I hope you go out there and hopefully you didn't just listen to us answer questions and be like, great, now I know what they think. Nah, I hope you're now like, now I'm informed. So now I can go about and do the thing and start taking the steps, the advice as per usual. So there you go. And we'll see you all next Thursday.
Take care.
Peace.